Hello everybody, my name is Allan James Moore. Earlier on today, I met with Enrique to discuss your upcoming event in August. And my suggested approach was for us to do a combination, kind of a keynote and a workshop. I figured I would start off with my most energetic keynote to get everybody engaged and involved in the process. This particular keynote, it involves a story that's full of tension and full of humor. It's about me getting charged by elephants in Africa. And on this tour, there were a number of different actors. True story though. So they kind of played certain roles, like the local guides, for example. They were very arrogant and they were kind of know-it-alls, and they were condescending towards us, especially when we addressed our safety concerns with them. Us as non-experts, we noticed that the elephants were getting quite frustrated with us being there. They were flapping their ears, they were roaring with their trunks up, things like that, and we addressed our concerns and they completely ignored us. They said, yeah, we'll tell you when you're unsafe. So they kind of played that role. We played a certain role where we addressed our concerns, but we did so in a very meek and mild way. We used what's called mitigated speech when addressing our safety concerns. And that basically means sugarcoating rather than being forthright and saying, listen, take us out of here right now, which is very strange because we were paying them. There was another role that was played by a friend of mine who's a South African guy, and he actually is an expert in animal behavior, and he didn't speak up because he didn't want to undermine the authority of the local guides. So if you think about these different roles that I'm talking about in my story, they can also relate to the workplace, especially in the lead up to an incident. Whenever we do our thorough investigations and discover, take our witness statements and say, hey, what was said, we find that these roles are covered. Somebody brought up this hazard. Somebody else said, oh, I don't think it's a big deal. I do this all the time. And then another person remained quiet throughout. So I tell this story and then I put it out to the audience. And I say, okay, who do you think is the good, the bad, and the ugly safety leader in my story? Just like my favorite Clint Eastwood movie. And they share their opinions. What I do, this part's really fun. What I use this device right here, and it's called a catch box. And this is basically a throwable microphone, and it's padded, so it doesn't hurt anybody. Basically what you do is you fit a microphone inside the chamber here, and I can throw it against a wall. It can bounce, it can do whatever, but it doesn't hurt anybody, so it's a lot of fun. And what people do is they share their opinion into the directly into the microphone. And then what I do is I take their responses, I qualify their responses, and it forms a discussion amongst everybody in the room, not just 1v1. And people really enjoy that portion because they come to an event really wanting to share. People don't necessarily want to just sit there and listen to somebody at the front of the room. So this is a really impactful and engaging kind of situation. And intermixed in this, I share my own story. So I do a good safety leader. Who do you think the good safety leader is? I get about 3 responses. Then it comes back to me. I share my opinion. And I relate each one of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to part 2 of the Canada Labour Code, the 3 fundamental rights of all Canadian employees. Now, these rights that I'm going to talk about are relevant all over the world. You can find them in all kinds of different health and safety legislation. They're embedded within OSHA. They're within the United Kingdom. I found them in Malaysia. I used to work in Taiwan. They're embedded there. So they're really widespread. I talk about the first one, the right to know about the hazards in your workplace. Everybody who comes onto a work site, they need to know what they're going to be facing. Number 2, the right to participate in assessing and controlling the hazards in your workplace. Everybody has this wonderful experience, and we want to harvest the collective intelligence, the collective safety intelligence of the people that are coming onto our work sites. And number 3, the most important one, the right to refuse unsafe work. If you're coming onto a work site and you see somebody cutting corners, you gotta say something, and you have the right to refuse unsafe work, and you need to bring it up to your supervisor. So I talk about that. And embedded with that one, because that one's so important, the story that I share is about plane crashes over the last 30 years that have occurred, mainly due to mitigated speech, which we find on work sites, and we also found in my elephant story. So I really target that one just to talk about the impact of these plane crashes and how they have impacted people's lives, obviously. over the last 30 years. And, not realizing that it's not just mechanical failure. Sometimes it's also things like mitigated speech, not communicating clearly. Once I'm finished this 1-hour keynote, this sets the context for a large group facilitation model known as a World Cafe. And a World Cafe is my favorite event. It's so enjoyable, it's so lighthearted. Basically, it's like a cafe. Sometimes I even put on some jazz music to kind of lighten the mood. Everybody's at a circular table, and I ask them 3 different questions. And we can decide on the questions, right? The client ultimately can decide what the questions will be. I suggest a question, something like, what's working well with the Guyana Well Alliance safety program? What's working well? So that we can start off on a positive note. But again, you can decide the questions. And what they do is at your circular table, there's maybe 7 to 10 people, you discuss this question for about 10 minutes. And there's one person that volunteers to record people's answers. And then after 10 minutes, I get everyone except for the recorder to stand up and move to a completely different table. They sit down, the recorder receives them and explains what the previous group described. Now, what's so great about this is they get to network, they get to meet new people that are at the event that they might not otherwise meet, and they also get to share their opinions with them, and they get to cross-pollinate ideas, right? And we also build off of the first 10-minute round. So that's 2 rounds. And then we move on to question number 2. That might be something like, what can we improve in the safety program? Something like that. Again, your choice. And we repeat it again. After 10 minutes, everyone stands up except for the recorder, move to a different table, discuss the same question again. And then we do the same for question number 3. Now, during this process, quite often there are different themes that emerge. I might notice that I go around to the different tables and I listen in, and sometimes I find, okay, maybe safety culture is a thing here, maybe communication's a thing here, or maybe something very specific like working from heights. That might be the thing. And what I do is I write these all down during the World Cafe, and then in the final session, we either could have a panel discussion or we could have a Socratic circle. Now, basically, a Socratic circle is, if you think of 2 concentric circles that have chairs around them, tables with chairs around them, and then a larger circle surrounding it with people sat there as well. The inner circle is the only one that's talking. The outer circle is listening. Now, inside the inner circle, there's one chair provided that's called a hot seat, and it's empty. So that if anybody on the outside of the circle has a burning opinion, they can hop in it and share their opinion and then head back out to the outer circle. And we could do this for 7 to 10 minutes, and then we could change the people in the inner circle, right? Now, the thing is, because of this device, I don't have to set up a part of the room that has an inner circle and an outer circle. All I do is I just take one of the tables and I say, okay, I hand them the catch box, and then they are the inner circle of the Socratic circle, right? With all the tables around them, and they can walk in and sit in the empty chair and share their opinion, right? And then after that, if we have another round of the Socratic circle, I just choose another table. So that makes it really easy. And to finish this all off, because it's a half day, typically 8 a.m. to 12 noon. To finish this all off, I have a closer where I talk about mentorship, and interventions and things like that, and basically having each other's backs. Because those are the 3 biggest themes that come from my opening keynote is accountability, avoiding mitigated speech, and having each other's backs. So I close it up with about a 7-minute, really powerful, inspirational speech, basically, that people really identify with. Of the feedback I've received from it has been wonderful. They really enjoy it, and they can really learn from it. And that's basically it right there. Yeah, and like I said, that can take 4 hours. I can shrink it a little bit if need be. I can pull down, some of the sessions we do in the World Cafe. I can shrink them down a bit, but that's basically it. So thanks again for reaching out to Marianne Chartrand, Top Safety Speakers, and your interest in me. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to contact me, phone me anytime, or email me. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day.